on the 9th of June, year 2025. Introductions, Mary Kay?
Mary Kay Scazza, staff.
We're doing, okay. Devin Erie, Executive Director.
Larry Purcell, treasurer from Mendon.
Dave Allaire, Rockland City.
Robert Gibbs Hubbardton.
Erica Berner Wallingford. Laura?
Laura Black, Shrewsbury.
Thank you.
We have one edit to the agenda before making that motion. It's to amend the, yep, that's exactly what I have. Amend the agenda for the April 2025 financials. And adding the financial policies to the employee handbook updates.
Okay, hold on. Remind me if I forget to add it in, please.
Of course.
Okay, thank you. All right, so approval of the proposed June 9th agenda as changed and amended.
So moved.
Second.
And approval of the May 20th minutes. Any changes, corrections, deletions?
I think we missed a vote. on
Yeah, we'll probably have a vote on that.
the agenda.
Oh, I thought we did. I am so sorry. Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda as changed and proposed, please say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you.
3 years and you're just catching up.
It's all right. One foot out the door.
All right. Approval of the May 20th minutes. Are there any changes, subtractions, agendas, changes, typos?
Make a motion to approve the May 20th, 2025 minutes as presented.
Second.
All those approve of accepting the minutes as written, signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
We voted twice.
Go ahead, now, keep doing that.
Put that in. minutes.
Double votes.
Larry put it twice.
Good coming
Hi,
in.
Leona. How you doing?
You don't have a quorum.
Now we do.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so I am opening the meeting to the public. No public, so I am closing the meeting to the public. Okay, the April 2020
Yeah.
financials.
Yeah. So I can provide that report. The April P&L reflects a net income of roughly $136,000. The high net income is primarily due to the fourth quarter ACCD payment invoice being sent out in March. I'll just quickly, you've heard a lot of these updates, but there's a couple new ones, so I'll just go through them quickly. Line 402, local income is high. Towns were invoiced for their FY25 dues. All but one town has paid. Line 403, state income. As I just said, the fourth quarter invoice was sent out in March. Line 403.5, Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation is low. You've heard this. It's the QUIST. This is due to a lot of projects in the development phase versus the construction. Line 404, Vermont Department of Public Safety is low. This is largely due to the Mount Tabor scoping study being less than half of what it was budgeted. And most of this revenue actually comes from contracted services, so it doesn't impact our net income. We pay it out and then we get reimbursed. Line 407, U.S. Department of Energy, that's low. The anticipated EECBG grant was canceled. Line 408, Environmental Protection Agency is low, as consultant expenses are about $72,000 less than what was budgeted at this point. This is another one, no impact to the net income, as whatever we pay out to the consultants just get reimbursed. Line 417, U.S. Department of Labor is low. We're seeing this this number increase every month now that there's a lot of work being done on this grant. Line 421 was not budgeted. You've heard this one since January. So this captures the credit card points income, which I'll explain on the expense side. So looking at the expenses, line 537, town and organizational support is high. So when we did the January update, we thought the income from the credit card points I could post right to the expense line, but we actually had to capture it up under miscellaneous income. So that's why the expense looks so high. Accounts receivable as of April 30th, accounts receivable totaled roughly 304,000, of which roughly 34,500 are funds that the EQUISP account needs to reimburse the operating account. And as of today, you want to go to the AR aging summary report. Oh, you don't? Okay. As of today, accounts receivable totaled roughly $165,000. Just a couple of miscellaneous items. We completed an updated cash flow and hours projection in May, and we're anticipating that the FY25 will end in the black. And with that, we also anticipate that the budgeted $18,000 from the fund balance reserve, we won't need. So that'll be great. And again, those reserve funds were budgeted for BAPTA expenses and office improvements, but we think that our cash flows for the year will cover those expenses. So yeah.
Any questions? Thank you, Mary Kay. Okay, regional plan report and draft review.
Okay. Quite a few things to report on here. In terms of drafting, we are prepared to begin our task 4 final drafting phase at the end of June and beginning of July. And that'll only run through July 11th. Of task 4, we only have one revision. So this is it. Our staff met today. Every Monday we meet when we can and talked a lot about task 4 kickoff. Staff is going to be prepared to really block out their schedules for the beginning of July through the July 11th to really give it a huge last push to get this right. You know, we'll be using the phase 3 engagement results to help inform this revision and all the feedback we get from the surveys and you all and our commissioners and the town. So we've been asking our staff, a lot of our staff on this, and this is the last really big final push. So they're all ready and willing and able. So we're excited. This will mark that last bit before the summer. And we'll talk about the summer schedule and having some meetings as necessary for the commission to feel like they have ample space for proper feedback on the plans in July and potentially August as well. But then when we come to the board in September, we're going to be asking them to sort of preliminarily adopt it so we can send it to the land use review board. That mark will be kick off the start of our adoption process. We go from mid-September all the way to the beginning of April. That's how long this adoption process will be. So we're really excited. Passing the land use review board review is the first major milestone. And we are the first plan in the state of Vermont to go through this milestone in the history. So we're the guinea pigs. It'll be very interesting to see how it goes. In terms of the
To go to the land use review board.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It will be us and then Chittenden County, then Northwest, then Central Vermont, and then the rest of them. So,
That's interesting.
and we kind of went back and forth, like, is it better to go first? Is it not? And ultimately we're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's just get it over
That's
with.
great.
What's their timeline once they get?
They
it in
have
their
60
hands?
days.
60 days.
And not only that, they do their review, but it goes to 5 different state agencies. And we don't have to deal with the agency comments. The comments go directly to the land use review board. they have to sift through those comments and decide which ones are applicable to us and not. So it'll be a huge effort, and this is, you know, a new board, a new land use review board. This navigating this whole process will be interesting. So it might be good that we're first and sort of trial and erroring this a little bit, but
Are they full-time?
they're full-time.
They're
Yeah,
full-time.
appointed by the governor, a board of 5. So in terms of review, we are in it right now. From now until the end of June is a chance for you, the commission, our towns, and the public to review the full plan draft and layout. So hopefully you guys have seen it. It is on our regional plan website. I'll bring it up just because we've been doing some reviews of that work. So our regional plan website is fully up to date. You can see the first, here, it's way too small. You can see the first plan draft right here in layout. It is 393 pages. So our idea of making this a 150-page plan, way out the window. Granted, it's very light reading per page. So you can see the draft here, the plan visualized, the chapter summaries, and then all our future land use map meetings, as well as the feedback poll. So we're really trying to encourage all our commissioners and towns to take the survey, provide their feedback, and this will be a real big push over the next month. That being said, it also corresponds with our last phase of engagement. Hopefully you guys have all received emails from Front Porch Forum, Facebook, our mailer light system, launching this alignment phase, which will run through the end of the month. So we've already met with all 27 towns. A lot of you all were there. We've been through the regional future land use map meetings. We have had great responses and revision requests, and we've already worked through more than half of the revisions. That being said, we also have a series of pop-up events scheduled throughout the region. We'll be working on several this weekend through the end of the month as a way to raise awareness and trying to piggyback on big events that are happening like Pride Festival, or we'll be in Shrewsbury, Laura, on Friday at the concert series. And we'll be all over. So look for us out there where you can. And then lastly, the plan is in full layout. It is complete. We continue to work on the graphics, the maps, the photos, and we're excited to see it in full layout. It's pretty exciting with all the graphics. I'll tell you, it's a lot easier to read than when you guys got 12 different Word files with no pictures or anything. This is a little bit easier to get through. So that is the regional plan report. So if you can stomach another review, we're asking you to read through it one more time in this round and then again next month. So
It's not the stomaching, it's the staying awake.
yeah, you trust me, I know. I know.
But I think we can all manage that. Good, thank you. Right, so the Commissioner Handbook review.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this one for a while, and apologies, it's taken me so long, and it's done at the end of the fiscal year where I'll immediately have to update it right away. So, as part of our effort to better engage with our commissioners, we have built out, as a reminder, our board and commissioners page, which is right off of our website. We go to board and committees. There's all this information about our commissioners, all of our committees, the officers, descriptions of what's happening. It's a way for our new members especially to better understand what their roles are. But I took it a step further with this commissioner's handbook, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I think it looks good, and I think it communicates the right information. And it's readily available, and it's already been tested. Jim Marsh, the new commissioner from Rutland Town, met with me the other day, and he used this commissioner handbook to sort of better understand what he was really needing to do as a commissioner. So I'm curious if you guys have had a chance to look through it. What are your thoughts? Any sort of changes you want to see? Does it cover the right material? Right now, it's really looking at introducing folks, understanding the board, the organization, and then planning generally. Kind of goes through that whole whole thing.
Any comments?
Do you think this will be helpful? We haven't had a
Yeah.
board handbook in about a decade.
I think it'd be very helpful. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people probably come in not knowing anything about what's going on.
Yeah,
Or how you operate.
Yeah, yep, and it's not efficient for me to try to meet individually with every new commissioner as they're onboarded. I don't have the time, and also it's hard scheduling wise, so hopefully this will eliminate a lot of that early on. But as always, if you see things you want to see changed or added, happy to do that. And obviously for FY 26, it will get a very quick update with our new leadership, committee structures, and any of those changes, so.
My comment is, I have read it and it's good.
Awesome, thank you, and that's coming from a former professor, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge
Yeah,
win.
that's a win, right?
No, I mean, I think personally, you know, it's something that we have to, instead of having to explain constantly what each one does over and over and right here, I think it's great.
It eliminates some headaches that we're doing it right.
I think so. And Laura's name gets to go on it next week.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Alrighty.
And select board should have this handy before they appoint someone. Read this first. so,
Yeah, I want to get it in front of the
You know what
towns.
you're getting
That's a
into.
great point.
You know, that is really a good idea.
Yeah, sometimes they're just looking for anybody to do it. It
It's
doesn't
a
work.
live body.
Yeah, keep the seat, yeah. No. We don't-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's face it, this is not exactly an easy task to do. When you're representing your county or your town or anything like that, and you're making decisions for the future. No, I think it's great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
All right, board, let's see, the June Board of Commissioners agenda, proposed agenda, I would.
Well, as it is our annual meeting, we have quite a few housekeeping items to attend to, beginning with the meeting schedule for the year. So I've included two schedules, one for the full board, one for the Executive Finance Committee. Here it is. You'll notice, yes, I do have proposed dates in July and August, which is unusual for us. However, given the time we're in and the task at hand, I think it will be necessary. I do think this could be edited to where the August is a TBD to say if we need it, if we don't get through it in July, because frankly, the last regional plan review session, it was only a few people had comments. It only lasted about 45 minutes. We don't need two sessions, why meet twice? So if you guys are okay with that, there's only one Monday meeting of the whole year, whereas last year we had more conflicts. So, and the Monday meeting is the combination of the holiday party, the audit approval, and it's executive finance and board of commissioners all in one. So that worked pretty well last year. Obviously, last year the storm was our big hiccup. You know, we had some issues there, but any questions, thoughts, comments on this? Do you want to change the day? Are you happy with Tuesday? Happy with 7 PM?
I think it's fine, but why is February, February and March, why are they to be determined?
That's the
The
topic.
topic.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, got it,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I selected them all, they look okay.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you double checked. I was going through the
Yeah, I pulled
calendar
my calendar out.
and looking at holidays to make sure there wasn't conflicts.
Yeah, I wouldn't make any changes because it could be interfering with all other.
Exactly.
Stuff that's
Yeah,
going
we're
on.
so ingrained in that Tuesday schedule, it feels like folks have sort of worked around it at this
Exactly,
point.
yeah.
That being said, we do have a conflict for Executive Finance Committee in October. What is that holiday? That'd be
It used to be
Veterans?
Columbus Day.
Okay,
It's
Indigenous
Indigenous
Peoples' Day.
Peoples' Day.
Okay, yep. So there was a holiday, so we pushed that to Tuesday. But otherwise, that schedule looks pretty solid and we'll get it in the books. And again, I'll update this because we may not need to meet as an executive finance committee in August. I'd love to be able to give you guys at least 1 month off if we could.
Dave and I are coming anyways.
All right.
Yeah.
We won't stop you.
What? Yeah.
We won't stop you.
We don't know any better.
No.
Any questions, thoughts there? We're good to advance this one? No votes necessary. We'll have the full commission ratify this schedule.
All right. So, meeting schedule is great. Employee handbook.
Yeah, we have several here. MK and I are gonna tag team this
Yep.
because there are several pieces. And we also added the financial procedures, so apologies that didn't come through sooner. We're waiting on our auditor to do a review. That didn't happen in time. So we are gonna use this policies highlighter as sort of the guide. But we can always pull up the handbook itself too if you have questions. Now, we can do this one of two ways. We can either go through the handbook itself where we've highlighted those changes. We can not do that and just highlight the things that you all have questions on, or we can just go through this handbook page by page. What's the preference? We would like to at least give context to all the changes that we're proposing, so you guys are aware of why, because it has been reviewed by MK, attorney reviewed, and a review by myself.
Can I ask who the attorney is that you have reviewing?
Yep, Andy Moss.
Well, I don't think it's necessary to go through the whole.
No.
No,
just go through the changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And if someone has a question, they can ask.
Absolutely. So the first change, and it might be easiest, yeah, if you run through it and I'll show on my screen, that would be easiest, I think.
And I had maybe just a couple additional
Additions.
things when we go through it, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so, right, page 2. Okay, so per the attorney, he just bolded the at will. The law strongly suggests that the at will verbiage is bolded. So page 4. And if I go too fast, just let me know. Again, per the attorney, he just removed with reason from probationary period. And then, can you show the comments right there? Do you see the comments?
Yeah, I can.
Well, there was a comment inserted, and just so you know, if you look at the purple, that's the attorney, blue is Devin, and the pink red is myself. But anyway, there was a comment down at the bottom. If courses mean class, then note that any reimbursement could be taxable. I think this should actually is referencing page 10 under professional development. So if we want to make a change there, we can. We might want to make, so he's saying if courses means class, then note that any reimbursement could be taxable income to the employee, so they should confer with their accountant. I would suggest we should add that language. And we can go to page 10, just so you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, the pages are different on here, because the 10 referred to the packet, I think.
Oh, did it? Okay, so it's actually, if you look at,
Oh, wait, no.
no, it should be
Hold on one second, folks, sorry.
it's right under community service day, however you're.
I think that the issue is.
Yeah.
Is I didn't update the table, so we'll struggle through page numbers, but we'll get there. We'll give you the.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get the header,
Okay,
right?
that sounds good.
Is it supposed to be on page 10?
No, so it is going to be on page,
Looks like it's on page.
remote work. So it should be under the subject hours of work and flexible scheduling. It should be page 5.
So under remote work, it says job descriptions, and I think the comment he made on that second page was in reference to this, because it's saying job descriptions may be provided which outline the basic requirements. Oh wait, no, not job descriptions, excuse me. It's oh wait, sorry, page 10. It's some page here. Professional development. Why did I keep saying job descriptions? It's under professional development.
So it is page 10.
Okay.
Employees may attend conferences, courses, or workshops offered for professional improvement and at the RPC's expense within budgetary limits at the sole discretion of.
Yeah, so he's saying if courses means classes, then there might be some tax implications there, and we should add that verbiage that he proposed. Is
Seems,
that reasonable?
I'm not a tax lawyer, so I don't know.
yeah, it's
We're an
kind
accountant,
of
but-
something we ran into this year with like our wellness benefits, like understanding that those actually had to be run through payroll and were subject to taxes. So I think it's just making consistent across the handbook to say like, hey, when there's a payout, likely there's gonna be tax implications.
Or may, we can.
And this is only in the case when a staffer would pay for the class themselves and
And be
be reimbursed. If we
Right.
paid directly, this would not be the case.
Right.
Yeah, but if they.
So
paid-
you're talking, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
If they paid for it and they can prove that they paid for it and this is just a reimbursement, tax is almost like exempt.
Yeah, that should not be taxable.
Yeah.
you're
If
right.
you're compensating them for time spent taking the
Yeah.
course,
Mhm.
that's taxable,
Right, that would be through there.
right?
Well, I think it would, most educational institutions probably, there's no tax associated. I think it would be when it would be some sort of specialized training through a private entity that's not like educationally exempt, where there could be taxes. Like the American Planning Association might have a
Work
paid
on-
module
Yeah.
that would be subject to taxes because they're not a tax exempt entity. So this is a probably very narrow possibility where this would even apply. So I think in all cases, when our attorney reviews, they're looking at sort of, what's the risk? Should we just cover our basis with adding this simple language in there?
Yeah, and all you're saying is
It
there
may-
might
it
be.
It might be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Big may.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So moving on to page 7. We just added clarifying language to health insurance incentive program.
This one's always been sticky. We've probably made changes to this one every single year to clarify when you're eligible for what plan type and the payout incentive when it applies. So we found that like this, MK was like, okay, this should really cover us in terms of like,
Right, there should be no questions after
should be no
this.
questions after this. And it, to be fair, it has not been a problem, but it could be. In terms of like, okay, I want to buy out on a family plan, even though I don't have a family plan, like those are the issues that we're trying to avoid.
There's been different interpretations in the past too. when
Yeah.
somebody reads it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the benefit is the same. It's just really, I think we've really, there'll be no questions.
Yeah.
There should be no questions moving forward with this language.
And there's 2 or 3 of us. 3.
There's 3.
Yeah, so it has saved, since we've gone to this model, it has saved the organization some money.
Okay, so also on page 7, we removed eligibility for part-time employee medical coverage eligibility.
The main reason we did this, we don't have anyone, we haven't had part-timers where this would be eligible for
Mhm.
anyways, but we talked about if we did, this would likely create an administrative burden by trying to figure out, okay, your compensation or the RPC's portion of this is based on the hours worked, and so it would be a
prorated.
formula change every single pay period. It just seems
Right. And
unnecessary.
since I've been here, we
Yeah.
haven't had,
Anything, and you don't do differential for someone that doesn't require insurance, correct?
Well, like for full-time
do the
employees, we have the
payout.
health
You
incentive.
do the
For
payout.
the
Yeah,
full-time, only full-time
Okay.
employees,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, we wanted to bring this to you guys, say, if you feel really strongly about it, we'll put it back in. But
Mhm.
if you feel like you agree that we haven't been using it, it would create this burden, then it seems easier to just sort of remove it. at
And
this
all of our
point.
other benefits are based on full-time employment, so.
Yeah,
Our
Yeah.
last meeting, we
Yeah.
decided to remove it,
Yes,
correct, right? Executive meeting, we
Yeah.
discussed this. Yeah.
we already discussed this,
Yeah.
so we agree.
last year,
No, just
No, just
recently, you brought this up to us.
must have been something else, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
no, it was,
No, because you didn't bring the employee handbook, it had to be something else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It had probably something to do with part-time, but it was something
yeah,
different,
it
yeah.
was, I'm sorry.
but I think it opens the door to the fact that on something like this, just don't even mention it, because if you start mentioning it, then it's there, people are gonna look at it and gonna create trouble. Get rid of
And
it.
plus, we don't have anyone even eligible at this point,
Mm.
so same next page.
Right, so on page 8, we're going to so suggesting removing eligibility for part-time employee dental coverage. So the first one was medical, this one is dental. And then the only other thing that I saw is up at the top on the second, if eligible, the second paragraph, it says Cobra coverage. I would like to do Cobra slash Viper, because our templates moving forward, we're actually going to be using a Viper template. We just ran that. The difference is with the attorney, and he confirmed that we should use the Viper template.
I do have to ask, who's coming up with these snake names?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Right.
the snake acronyms are pretty funny, considering like what they mean.
What they mean, right?
Hopefully not for a snake bite.
So is everybody okay with the removing the dental?
Yep.
Okay. All right, and then we're gonna move on to page 9. We just updated the parking section, because now that we have the parking lot, because we did have employees that elected to walk. There was like an incentive there, and we just removed that since now we have the parking lot. And most everybody.
We're still offering the option for folks to park in the parking garage. We only have a couple that still do it, so we left that. Full-time employees have the option to park at the Marble Valley Regional Transit Center.
Right.
So that's still in there, but the payouts and everything else would go away. And we have saved quite a bit of money making this change to this parking lot.
So Devin was talking about the wellness reimbursement. We had a $300 wellness reimbursement, and then after the fact realized, as I was preparing the year-end documents and I was going through, Gusto is our payroll software, and they give you all these, like, I don't know, tips and, oh, look at this, look at that, and I was reading through it, and it seemed like a wellness reimbursement should be taxable, and we weren't treating it that way. So worked with the auditor and had to go through and did a lot of work to get that all squared away. But anyway, because it's now taxable and it's Beamer's applicable, it really reduces that 300. So just suggesting to bump that up to 5. So it's a little bit more of a reimbursement to the employee.
And truthfully, I wanted to bump this up to 5 regardless of the tax liability there. And it's the benefit that's probably used the most by our staff. So they really like it.
So, any questions on that? Okay. So on page 10, we're proposing to remove the community service day. Honestly, not a lot of employees took advantage of that. And further down, you'll see that we're proposing to add a 13th holiday, just switching them out, removing the community service and adding a 13th holiday, which we'll get to. Okay, so.
It was a nice concept, but it didn't really play out the way we have, because we only, I think it was 3 years ago we put it in place, so it was a good attempt.
Okay, so moving to page 16. Under employment of family, it just, we needed to add clarity what family means and who is family. And so we just received language from the attorney that same household essentially it's anyone living with the employee or in the same household or for whom the employee has parental or family responsibilities. So we're just clarifying that language. On page 19.
I'm just gonna ask a question on that. When you say family living in the same household, full-time or part-time? Let's say you have a cousin that comes to visit, is that cousin considered family?
If they're
Yeah.
residing in the
In the
household.
house.
In
But
the
they're
house.
only coming for 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Oh, I think
See
it's
what I'm saying?
more permanent.
Yeah, I mean, any of the classical family, like if you're,
No,
if you
but you
are a
see-
cousin, this really speaks to like authority over family. So
Okay.
if you can't be directly under a person that's your family member, and that family member cannot alone conduct the evaluation
Right,
of the
but-
family member.
Okay, then I'm gonna throw something else. And I'm just,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
my-
no, we need devil's
Okay.
advocate, yeah.
You have somebody staying with you.
Yeah.
And a friend, or it doesn't matter, a colleague, they're renting from you.
Yeah.
Is that considered family? For your
I think the
purposes?
rental aspect would exclude the family.
would
I think so too.
Yeah,
But what happens if they're not, if they're staying with you? Okay, let me give you a good example. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I can't get my thoughts together today. We have a family friend that's been staying at my house now for, oh, I don't know, 5 years,
Mhm.
okay?
mhm,
She's not related. She's not paying rent.
under this clause, that person would be considered family.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's.
So I guess my question is, what's the context of family? And why are we defining family? For
So
what
in this
reason?
case, it's for, to make sure that there's a separation. If I am overseeing a family member, we're trying to make sure that there's no, what's the word? Not favoritism, but,
Nepotism?
nepotism, exactly. So if like I'm the director or MK is assistant director, we hire one of our family members, we can no longer be directly oversight of that family
Oh,
member.
okay.
So that's the only context this applies to, is who has administrative oversight over that family member, and when conducting evaluations, somebody else has to do that.
Gotcha.
So it's like that impartiality thing.
Yep. Yep, okay.
Okay, so on page 19, the added clarification to overtime pay eligibility. That's something that the attorney added. Regarding overtime.
We've been implementing this forever. It's just adding language to it by saying like, we always have to correct time cards now. If
Mhm.
somebody tries to get comp time in a payroll in which they were sick or on vacation, like that, you can't build comp if you're taking PTO.
Mhm.
So I
And
think
this
that's
is more toward the hourly.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Same thing though. Okay, so, and then page 20 is talking about the salaried exempt employee work beyond a normal work week. We were saying to be determined on exempt status. Do you want to take this one?
And you can if you want, yeah.
Yeah, every time we do the handbook, this one comes up by the attorney. This comment is exempt employees are expected to work the minimum hours for the regular work week. Here it seems 37.5 hours. Being exempt means some days or weeks they work more, but others not. So I think this is the thing, tracking hours and saying vacation, personal sick time does not count towards the minimum work week dilutes the idea the position is exempt. I think we need more language from the attorney.
Because it does count towards the minimum work week.
Right, what would he propose? We've had the same policy in here for a long time. We have tweaked the language over the years. We have moved to, because essentially comp time, it needs to be paid out. Like if it's earned and we've charged a grant for it, we need to pay it out. If we don't pay it out, we have then overcharged the grant. So, I think that's good, and we came to a consensus maybe, I don't know how many years ago, that we never had this before, is we clear it out every year. So people can use it or cash it in on a quarterly basis throughout the year. But when it comes to the last payroll of the fiscal year, whatever is on the table, we pay that out. We clear it out year after year. I think that, I don't know if it's more of a language of exempt and tracking hours. So I think, like Deb and I are talking, maybe this is a separate meeting with the attorney on what would you propose for language.
I know that it has not been an issue since it's been in place, which is, we can't.
We've
figure
had
out-
comp time since.
Yeah.
Forever.
I know some businesses, for exempt employees, have a minimum work requirement. And then kick in overtime. Example, 40-week
Mhm.
is expected.
Mhm.
If you go over 50 hours in any one week, you're entitled to time and a half over that 50-hour period.
Mhm.
So there's that
Gap. Yeah.
5 to 10, and it's up to the entity,
Mhm.
kind of gap to play around with.
Yeah. We're not proposing any changes here. If, I think this idea of meeting with the attorney separately on like, if there were a change, what would you propose for language? Not changing the actual intent of the policy, but
Mhm.
like if there's some legal jargon we need to add to protect us, great, but otherwise, like, we wouldn't want to get rid of the policy as it stands, because we think it's a good one. And it hasn't been a financial liability that's been significant,
Yeah, so anything over time is comp time, correct?
which is 1-to-1.
Yeah, 1-to-1. They could take it off or get it paid out.
But what is he objecting to the fact, let's say, for example, this is Monday, so you're sick on Monday for some reason. Okay, and you're paid sick time, obviously.
Mhm.
And then you come in on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and as it turns out, this is the week from hell, if you'll excuse the expression.
Mhm.
So you end up working
Right.
45 hours
Mhm.
Or coming in on a Saturday.
or coming in on a Saturday. So is he saying that those 8 hours on Monday
Don't count. That's how we
And they,
do it
and they
now.
don't count now, right?
Yeah.
We reduce it. We're
Yeah.
not adding that to the pay week.
That's just less PTO you take.
got it?
And
Yeah.
our schedule's always been a flex schedule. Like, a lot of us work insane hours certain weeks and not, especially like when we have a ton of night meetings. I try to encourage staff to like take Friday off or come in late on Monday or like, flex it within the 2-week period. Sometimes you can't, right? And that's where we're like, okay, we're gonna compensate you for that extra time you worked. Surprisingly enough, not many staff use stop time or take it. They have learned to work their work within the 37 hours, so.
Maybe the best thing to do is to sit down with the attorney and get him to say exactly how you.
But as far as, I think it boils down to when you're figuring comp time over the 37 and a half
Mhm.
productive hours. If you're
Yeah.
sick, you're not productive. Those aren't
Right.
working hours.
Right.
Yeah, I like the term productive.
Yeah. Great.
Otherwise, you're gonna get people coming in sick and spreading it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
That's enough already.
So page 21, again, we have clarified this language for mileage over and over again, but I think we finally got it right. And so it's just another revision, pretty much saying the same thing. The intent has always been the same, but just
This
Just
still
clarify.
comes up. This
it
still.
still comes up. But I think we got it. Not after we're following this and we actually have this on everything.
Yeah,
This isn't coming up so much anymore.
right.
On page 22, there's that floating holiday that we referred to before, and it's actually what is it? Floater birthday.
So within 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after an employee's birthday, they can take a day off. We went round and round on which holiday we wanted to give, and this one felt the most beneficial, and we told staff about it today, and they were really jazzed about it, so. We don't foresee asking for any additional holidays. 13 is very generous as is.
Right.
But we felt like taking away the community service day, let's give them some, so.
I only had one question. Do you think we should add, I know it says 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after, but do you think we should say within the same fiscal year though? There could be,
Would it matter? I don't think it would matter.
Well,
it
it might,
could,
if you have
it
somebody's
might.
birthday,
Yeah, it depends,
right on
cause,
that crux.
yeah, and then it's different every year, so. It just means, if it falls within the next fiscal year, then they're gonna have to take it on their birthday. You know what I mean? If their birthday is June 30, it just means they wouldn't be able to go beyond that. I'm like a
It's-
clean, I like
Right,
everything, I like to be able to
analytical,
run reports and
But
like.
this also leaves it open. What you're doing, what your accounting brain is going, whereas like this is saying. You're saying you want to be able to account for an automatic 13th holiday in the books.
Yeah.
Within a
This
fiscal
whole
year.
policy
Within a
though,
fiscal year.
basically
Within a
says
fiscal
like,
year,
they
yeah.
may or may not take it. Cause if they can't hit that window, then they won't get their 13th holiday no matter what.
Use it or lose it.
Exactly. So this is a little bit more like personal time.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't look at it as
Okay.
fiscal year expense.
Yeah.
They'll use it.
They
Yeah.
will,
And
they will.
Yes, David,
Yeah.
they will
Yeah,
use
if they're
it.
gonna lose it, they're gonna use it.
Yeah,
But like personal time, like it can't go beyond June 30.
right,
It's a use or lose it.
right. But why punish that person with a June 30 birthday?
Okay.
This is an extreme hypothetical. We have no one that this
Okay.
would apply to right now.
Right, and the next person you hire is
It's
going to
gonna
be.
be
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
you know,
Okay.
I
you can break the news.
I think the number of employees you have are reasonable enough so that you could
Say,
theoretically account for a little bit of a buffer.
totally,
All right.
yeah. Yeah, and if you really want to put that language in, MK, we will. And we'll just say to that employee like, hey, you have the whole month of June to
If you-
take it,
Put a buffer in for comp time.
Yes. Yep. So when we get to the budget, we do account for comp time.
Yeah.
Yep.
We didn't used to until last year.
Last year.
Yeah,
Well, you know, if
you need to-
everybody's working hard and can't take it, that's a hit to payroll at some point.
You did use people's underlying, because that's supposed to be people.
No, it's not sure if people should have the apostrophe before or
It should
after.
just be people day.
I think it's that, isn't it?
It is that.
Okay,
Okay.
listen to word when it tells you you're wrong.
Yeah.
Not all
Oh,
the
and I
time,
guess
but in this
this
case,
should
yeah.
not, if this is saying holidays together, this should not be in there. Cause that wouldn't be together. I think this would have to be a
Why are you
separate,
emphasizing the 13th holiday?
what do you mean?
Well, these are our paid holidays. You list them, correct?
Yeah,
Why are you emphasizing the 13th?
where?
I'm just superstitious.
Oh.
It provides a 13th.
Only because there's a stipulation that you have to use it within 2 weeks before or
Yeah.
after, and no other holiday has that.
Yes, that.
And these are saying we have to
But,
take.
but
it-
you're saying what it is, it's their birthday.
Well, instead of saying together, on the appropriate day.
You
Yeah.
know, like there's no 13th floor on a building.
I've been in buildings with 13 floors.
You have on the
Hotels,
elevator.
hotels.
Well, if you
And
guys like it,
hotels.
we'll massage it a little bit.
No.
in text, but yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
How
Okay.
about just saying an additional holiday? Instead of the 13th,
Yeah.
an additional holiday.
To celebrate each employee's birthday.
Yeah.
That looks good.
That's good.
Okay,
Perfect.
there you go. You happy?
All right.
We're risk free now. Nothing will happen to us.
And don't
Let's
forget,
Watch out for black
Let's
cats.
not Black
Forget to
cat a
take that.
birthday, you know?
don't forget to take that cell out of your table then.
Okay,
All
What's the
right, so
next
on
one?
page 26. So per the attorney, we added work-related injury period under length of absence and return to work for up to
Right.
2 years of date of injury, just for clarifying it. On page 28. Throughout all these leave policies, we're really trying to make it as clear as possible, like, do you accrue vacation? Do you not accrue vacation? So we went through every one of these to really, so there'll be no questions when, you know, when an employee is asking for leave. So page 28, we added unpaid leave time accruals, which you'll see right there.
Mhm.
On page 30, and again, these are all leave. Page 30, we added language prohibiting extension of leave with paid time. If there, an employee cannot extend a leave by using PTO or other time off. Now we're at page 32. We added additional language regarding military leave, and again, this is another one per the attorney.
Yeah, because you can't count military leave.
Yep.
that's exactly what he had in here.
And at page 30 and 33 and 34, this is where we inserted the paid parental leave that the board reviewed last month.
So on that, remember we talked about it last meeting. So MK did a bunch of research, talked to our insurance folks, our attorney. What we came down to was like, well, I think Sarah Pelkey's concerns were extremely valid and what she was sort of considering in this hypothetical. There's two other policies that this hypothetical person who would have to leave work due to a medical reason due to pregnancy before birth would fall under one of two other buckets, either short-term disability
They could file a claim if they went out on medical leave.
or
Oh, the Vermont leave, the BPL,
short-term
one on paid,
paid family leave, Vermont paid.
Vermont paid family leave.
Yeah, Vermont parental and
The-
family leave, sorry. Right,
Well, it'd be that VSFL. So the
VS
Vermont
that's the one.
short-term family leave, that's on page 30.
back here. So if you guys
Oh,
really,
it's defined as unpaid leave not to extend 4 hours. That is not it.
No.
Like that.
it's gotta be
Prior.
the short term,
It's VPFL.
yes. Vermont parental and family leave.
That's on 28.
So now if you guys are like, nope, we want it to count, we technically can do whatever we want with this paid parental policy. So if you're like, no, it should be no matter what time they need it, they can take it. Our thoughts are, since we have this disability policy and people have sick time, the paid parental policy really is about
After the child.
after the birth or the fostering or the adoption. So it's once you become the
A
parent.
parent.
Because there's so many hypotheticals and I don't even want to go into them, given how close I am to a birth here, but like there are many sort of opportunities for this to potentially like get a little muddied if we do it earlier when we have these other policies. That being said, if you guys prefer that option, we can adjust it to say to cover that period before birth. It seemed like the advice we got from the attorney and the insurance folks were,
Leave it.
Parental is
Yeah, I
after,
would.
after
When
the
you're
birth.
a parent, you're a parent.
yeah.
Before that, yeah, you're not
Yeah.
a parent to be.
And not that we'd leave folks high and dry. I mean, there's other policies that will protect them and care for them during that time. But really, it's like this is meant for the after, the having to take care of another human.
Yep.
Um,
I agree.
Okay.
No, don't muddy up the water.
Yeah, so nothing changed otherwise from what we proposed last month. 4
Oh.
weeks over 12 months.
Yeah, the only question I had in here, because unless I missed it,
I changed it.
you did.
Yeah.
Because my question was, do we want to mention that there is a short-term disability policy that can be? Do we want to add any language or just leave it?
I feel like
Yeah,
it
The
already,
policy's
It-
already in the
Right.
handbook, they can refer to that.
yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Or they can go to Mary Kay and say, is there another alternative?
Perfect,
And you can point them to the right page.
perfect. Okay, so under page 39. Page 39, again, for the attorney, we just had to bold the sexual harassment language. And on page 41, we added clarifying language for the retaliation section. It says the same thing, it just was a little bit hard to read before, so just making it easier to read. And then it's on page 41. Right there.
is that it all? Or all of it?
Yeah, that was it.
All right, not too bad. I mean, every year we're making refinements to hope, maybe there will be a year where we change something. I doubt it, but.
It's always something, and it's
I
always
know.
good to get an attorney reviewed because things could change, law could change year by
Sure.
year, so we wanna make sure we're capturing anything new. That we may not know
Still
about,
don't like the watermarks. It's good on this, but when you print it out,
it's too hard to read.
you can't,
Oh, boy.
you can't.
I
read it.
never seen it in black and white.
Yeah,
Okay,
or like mine is dark blue. I can't read through it when it comes out in my computer.
Yeah, I did that in black and white on my printer.
Yeah,
Um,
otherwise you can't read it.
okay.
It's nice on here on the screen.
I
but when
know.
you- if-
Yeah, 'cause
I wanted it to look good, but if it's not readable, what's the point of looking?
Yeah,
at it,
I
you
mean,
know
if
what
you're gonna print these out for select boards and hand them out, it's all, you're trying to hide stuff.
Yeah, no.
It's hard
that-
to read.
That is not the goal. So yeah, well, we can pull that watermark
cool.
out.
So,
Like when they have a book and it's gray here and then the font is white.
Yeah. Okay, that one's done.
Okay.
we wanna pull up the financial procedures policy?
Financial updates that we added. Laura, how you doing?
Did you send that?
You're still coughing.
Okay.
No, I have, no, now it's my guts,
Oh,
stomach
Aw.
and, oh, man.
I went through that like last week. It
Oh,
was
really?
not fun.
yeah, my mother was down with it while we were down in Virginia, so take care of yourself on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because she's 92, but she still has it, so,
Yeah.
Get dehydrated.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the current financial procedures. They haven't been updated since 2017. And really the goal is, since we've hired a finance assistant, really getting her into
2023, we updated.
2023.
We updated them.
I said,
It was
oh, I'm
June
looking at,
20th,
yes,
2023.
2023.
Yep.
I'm looking at the 17. So really getting the finance assistant into the processes in our financial procedures. So really financial procedures / internal controls, wanting to adopt and make effective the day that's adopted. So we can move forward with getting her into, ingrained in some of that work that I'd like her to take over. So this is actually part one of a two-part project here. This really needs to be blown up and reformatted, and it's really not an easy read. Sections should be moved around, and it's just going to take quite a bit of work. But for the meantime, really, again, the goals here were to incorporate the finance assistant roles throughout the policy, clarify processes throughout the policy, clarify the mileage reimbursement, which we just reviewed in the employee handbook. On page 7, we made it identical. And then the other things, which I think was done in the employee handbook, is the GSA, that's the mileage reimbursement. The links were outdated, so we went ahead and updated the links there. I'm not sure how we want to go through this. You'll see, we can just scroll through. You'll just see that finance assistant is really incorporated into most of these pages. And then if you go to, yeah, see like, and then I just kind of clarified some of the language, just expanded upon it. So I have sent this to the auditor. We like to get the auditor's blessing on this. I have proposed some questions. We have a lot of processes in here. I want to know, is there a way that, are there things that, you know, the finance assistant shouldn't be working on? And that's, I'm just trying to delegate as much as I can to this role. Just trying to navigate that because we've never been in this position before. I've never had the opportunity to delegate as much work as I'm going to be able to. And then some of our processes it's a lot of like physically signing off and stuff. So I really want to make those more efficient and improve those processes and simplify wherever we can simplify. So it'd be great to get her feedback. I'm not sure how it would work. Like if she happens to, you know, respond and give me that before we send out the board packet, should I include that or should I wait until we'll be doing a next revision over the summer and I can include it for the next round? Not
As
sure.
far as what her list of duties would be?
Yeah, like where she sees we can kind of streamline things and, you know, whatever she's proposing, it would still be in front of everybody, like for the board approval in their review, but you wouldn't have seen it. So I can, until the board packet is mailed out. So we can either wait. I just don't know how soon I'm gonna get it.
I throw out wait.
Wait,
Yeah.
we will
Yeah.
wait. That's easy.
You know,
Twice.
Yeah, without.
I'm a little stuck. I don't understand. The board has approved your getting an assistant.
Mhm.
Did the board have to approve your duties?
No, but.
Well,
See,
the
that's what-
financial
that's what
procedures,
They,
yeah.
right, they always approve
The
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 financial.
financial procedures,
Which,
yes.
which are your
Yeah.
internal controls, so.
Right.
Right.
So yes and no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm struggling with, you know, whether or not it's necessary for board approval.
Anytime we make a change to a policy or procedure, it is codified that we have to seek your approval.
Yeah.
If it weren't in this official document, then no, we would be like, no, it's, we can manage that internally. You know what I mean?
So if presented with her scope of employment, if she does something that exceeds that, what happens? I mean, is it that rigid? That's what I'm asking.
No, this is only about like authorities over financial matters
It's
that
all
would
about-
allow her to do things that are currently not in our procedure.
Right. It's
So-
all about segregation of duties. and
Yeah,
who
so a little
has
bit
what
like a next
responsibility.
level beyond a work scope. Like she can operate now, she's operating now,
Mhm.
but we
Mhm.
can't allow her to do certain things because she's not explicitly written in the procedures.
Right, like journal entries, like I'd like her to have her do some basic journal entries, but right now. I
Only
can't
MK
because
can
it's
do
only,
it.
it's only
Yeah.
myself, so. Just things like that,
Oh,
yeah.
Which is,
that's pretty basic though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
but it is explicit enough for us to be like, well, it doesn't say it, so
Mhm.
she can't do it.
Right.
Right,
So. We can hold off though. I
Yeah,
mean,
let's
I
hold
can,
off on-
I can understand the, you know, like sense of control.
Mhm.
Journal entry affects your whole
Mhm.
financial
Sure. And
statement.
Right. I mean, and it would be very selective. A lot of this language is like finance manager or their designee, or executive director, finance manager, or their designee. So, so.
it's where it doesn't say that.
No, I think
We'll
waiting
hold off. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
good.
and,
okay.
and try it. You may find that some of these procedures that you think that person shouldn't have, they need, and vice versa.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, we're still navigating
Try it
everything
first.
for sure.
Yeah,
So do we want to go page by page? No, okay.
it's more of this, it's literally just adding
That's it, and
finance
there's-
assistant.
And like, just expanding on like, what happens when we receive an invoice? Like, what is our process? Just expanding here and there, but there's not a lot of updates to it.
We'd
No.
like to see that.
Great.
Great. That's probably the biggest one. Finance assistant. Okay.
Will make your job easier, and more efficient. And let's face it, that's what you all hired for as professionals, is to tell us what you need.
Right. And just as we grow and staff
Right.
grows, then the workload grows, and so just trying to utilize everybody as much as possible.
Okay. So, the budget. Review the budget, page 7 on our packets.
Yep, and we have updated the budget highlights just slightly. There's a couple additions MK has made, so we'll go through. If it doesn't match your copy perfectly, that is why.
So
I
really,
can't read it anyway.
if you scroll down to the budget, I can show them exactly the only change that I made.
Easier on the computer, that's why I usually bring mine.
Sorry, the budget itself.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, I was supposed to have cataract surgery today and I couldn't, so I'm kind of, yeah, it's hurt.
So if you look over under Department of Environmental Conservation, we're the 675,000. We increased that number by 22,000 because we got an updated number from one of our partners for the clean water service provider.
And it's just pass-through money.
It's just pass through. So you'll see that on the revenue side under that line, and then down below, we've added 22,000 to contracted services. That's the only change that was made. So, the net income is still what's on your
16,916.
virgin. Yeah,
So theoretically, it's a total wash.
it is a wash. Yeah, absolutely. It just increases the revenues and increases the expense. Okay, so do you want to?
Sure, I could start and then we can get into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So building this budget was interesting this year, given sort of like federal uncertainty, state uncertainty, budget uncertainty. So we went into this trying to be as conservative as possible while being realistic, right? And in doing that, we decided to budget certain things conservatively on the expense side, and on the revenue side, we decided to not even include some revenues that we've had historically, specifically FEMA's Emergency Management Planning Grant.
Mhm.
There have been a lot of changes to FEMA. The BRIC program was already canceled. EMPG was next on the chopping block. So we said, you know what? Let's not include it to make sure we can run this organization without it. And if we get it, great, right? So that being said, we didn't include that. And we didn't include a couple small other things that weren't certain. So everything we're proposing this budget, we feel pretty certain about. That being said, you see this year-end revenue is a little higher than what we normally carry. Again, in our minds, it's a buffer. Around $17,000 is proposed revenue. That way, if we lose a couple grants, we're still okay. That being said, as is customary with the last couple of years, we do plan on bringing you an updated budget in Q2 like we have been doing. Adjust based on because we're on the state fiscal year, the federal fiscal year starts in October. So we should have a really good view of what the rest of the year looks like after October. So we'll bring another update. However, from now till then, we feel really confident this budget is realistic and feasible based on what we know today. And that's all we can do. So that being said, we'll jump into it and go over the highlights here. Do you want to do this or do you want me to do it?
I can do it. All right. So I guess I'll just be reading through, but it goes line by line. So the budget did increase by roughly 635,000. The town dues under local income increased from 27,000 in FY25 to $60,068 in FY26, following board approval formula-based restructuring in FY25. So let's see, I wish these were numbered on here, but the ACCD property transfer, those funds increased by 3%.
That was in the governor's past budget, which was really fortunate for us. We're excited about that revenue. That's our most flexible money.
This year, we have no ACCD non-permanent state funds
There was a
included in
lot
the
of
budget.
effort.
Under public safety revenue, that has decreased due to the balance of the Mount Tabor scoping study being less than what was budgeted in FY '25. And like Devin just said, we didn't budget for the EMPG grant. So under V-Trans, Vermont Agency of Transportation, there was no increase in FY '26. The Department of Environmental Conservation revenue is increased as more project spending is expected for the South Lake Champlain Clean Water Service Provider. Under U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, decreased in FY '26 as work continues on several projects under the multi-year grant. We plan to spend down 75% of the revenue so we can apply for additional funds in the fall. As you've heard me report on before, the U.S. Department of Energy, the ECCBG grant was canceled, so there's no revenue for expected in FY '26. The U.S. Department of Labor, that's our big work 6 grant, that increased significantly as the first program cohort will start under the multi-year grant. So that was a big revenue increase to our budget. The Vermont Department of Buildings and General Services, that decreased just a little bit as the work under the MERP shifts to grant administration. So we have our MERP grant from the state, but then we now have grant administration agreements with the towns. And then they're
Yep.
directly with the towns.
Directly to towns, West Haven, Benson, Pollitt. Other, right? Maybe there's just 3.
I don't know how many
West
there are.
Haven, Benson, Pollitt. Yeah, there's at least 3 that we have, and we're charging 5% on those. Eligible up to 10%, but we felt like we could do it for less.
Okay, so local planning assistance, and that's where the MERP grant administration agreements live. Local planning assistant increased by nearly 75,000 as the RRPC was contracted by towns for MERP grant administration, municipal project management, which are MPMs, town plans and zoning bylaws, energy planning, and local hazard mitigation plans. Special projects were reduced but continue to support CPRG, VABTA website and chair, FEMA flood bylaws, TOD, water quality ANR, bond bank water system, which is new, Benson DIBG, and MTAP, the towns of Benson and Pollitt. The fund balance reserve is 0. As you know and reported on earlier, we had a fund balance budgeted, reserve budgeted in FY '25, but we don't feel that we need to budget anything in that line because we don't have any office relocation expenses, and there are no VABTA assessments, and those were the 2 items that the fund balance were going to be used for in FY '25. And interest income has increased to reflect current earnings. So on the expense side, this budget includes 11 full-time employees, 2 part-time, and 3 interns. So the RRPC is fully staffed. All full-time employees will receive increases. The next big thing we're happy to report is we were able to continue with 100% of a gold 1 plan for FY '26, and that's with MVP. And again, in January, we moved over to MVP at whereas for years prior we were with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Everybody's been really happy. Their customer service has been dynamite. Employees are really happy. They've helped employees a lot. We've had some special circumstances with employee and their family, and everything has just gone without a hitch. So I'm really happy with that move. And I feel that our employees are too.
And we saved a lot of money.
We saved a lot of money.
Moving.
And again, this budget includes the projected plan type for each employee. So plan type just means single, 2-person family, etc. As mentioned before, the health incentive benefit, that is unchanged from FY '25. Contracted services, this is a big one where you'll see that the expenses have really increased. So they've increased by more than 450,000 compared to last year. That's again largely due to QUISP in Work 6. This also includes funding for a consultant-led strategic planning retreat planned for FY '26. Do you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, you know, in conducting the evaluations for staff this year, which we've just finished, there were two things that popped up the most in terms of their feedback for the organization. One was wanting to spend more time sort of collaborating and understanding what each other are doing. And the other is really charting a course with a much more clear strategic vision for the organization. And looking back, we haven't done a strategic assessment or plan since 2013. So it's time. I just participated in a strategic planning retreat for Cedar this past year. They had a consultant-led retreat and it was fantastic. And I think coming off the back of the regional plan, we have an opportunity here to sort of take that information we've learned about ourselves and the region, update our strategic plan and have a retreat with the staff and potentially the board as well. You know, I'd love to entertain that option with the executive committee because that's what they did for Cedar. So I think staff really want it. I think it's time. It's been over a decade to do a 5-year plan at the minimum. So we budgeted, I think, 9,000
Yep.
for that.
Okay, so conferences and trainings have increased by more than 9,000. More staff are expected to attend. Service contracts, we have increased. So these are all for IT services, and we really increased our security levels, which you've probably heard us report on it during FY '25. And
We were way
yeah,
under secure and all of our programming was way wrong. So
yeah,
Silhouette did an audit and they're like, "Eesh, you're like the only one still on this old system. Why don't we get you updated?" So it was a lot of money, but I feel like we don't have a choice. Like if we get
especially
cyber, well, your husband, if we
Yeah.
get malware or, you know, some sort of hack, then we're screwed. So
in a little bit when we get to insurance, you'll see that will now be getting cybersecurity insurance. So, which again, Silhouette suggested. Okay, so legal fees, we just bumped those up a little bit for general support. Rent and office improvements, this decreased slightly, but we still include some office improvements, including creating an additional office out of one large office, painting, and making light improvements this year. Grant disbursement.
that is my office that's
Oh.
getting chopped up, by the way, because we're sort of at capacity now. And if we do get EMPG funding and are able to bring on another planner, we don't have a spot for them to go and we have a brand new office. So we do need to make some room. Yeah. And hopefully it'll be cheaper than what we budgeted, but we wanted to be safe.
Mhm. Grant disbursements increased because we are the pass-through entity for 604B. And number 10, you'll see under insurance, it increased, and that's due to the cybersecurity insurance that Dean from Silhouette suggested.
So, I mean, 2.877 million is our biggest budget yet. A lot of that is a pass-through.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 1.2 million in contracted services. So while that number is big, our actual base number hasn't changed too much from last year, which is not a surprise given sort of where we're at. But again, a sort of another note to say that like the RPC not only produces planning work, but we actually are helping to invest in the region too through Work 6 and clean water service providers. So, you know, the bottom number doesn't say it all by any means. Any questions on the budget? Feelings?
So
Linda?
if you went, sorry,
Yeah, go on. All the way down.
all the way down,
We are comparing.
where's your
fiscal year.
offset? where does where's your pass-through come in? It doesn't show on your profit and loss?
Yeah, so what you're talking about so are you talking about like contracted services? Okay, so it's a consolidated P and L, right? So, these expenses are being reimbursed by the revenues that are reported up above. So that 1.2 million is embedded in the programs listed on the revenue side.
Okay,
Primarily
Primarily,
these two.
yeah,
okay.
And well, this one too.
yes,
EPA, I mean, of brownfields of the 400,000, we only get like
Oh.
90.
yeah.
So the rest of that's going to the region.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, feelings?
No,
Yeah, just a question, financial procedures, employees handbook, maybe even the amount of the budget. Do you look at other RPCs to see what they have, or
Oh,
if you come up with a template, maybe you share it or something, all the work you've done on these, or?
Yeah, so yes and no. So RPCs operate the same but differently. So some RPCs have very different financial procedures. Some use a consultant finance director.
Mhm.
Some are embedded like us. Everyone does that part quite a bit differently, so we typically don't share these things. However, MK is sort of like, she's one of the leaders in the state for finance directors. So she and Chittenden County RPC's director Forrest, they often are collaborating on like
We share a lot.
best practices, the way to handle certain expenses or revenues. And actually the financial directors have been meeting
Mhm.
to sort of share information. Cause I have been an advocate for a long time, especially now as chair, to be like, why are we doing this 11 different times over? When we work together, the outcome is far better and cheaper.
Mhm.
So certain things we're sharing, certain things we're not. And some of it is just based in pure history of how your organization was originally structured. In terms of the finance stuff, you know,
I could say that the finance procedures, even like the grant management, stuff, the 2 CFR, which are the federal guidelines that we have to follow. A lot of that did come from Chittenden County, so we do collaborate where we
Mhm.
can.
yeah.
Mhm.
And in terms of building our budgets, like there's two things in our handbooks. There's two things we do annually and share, which is we do a Baptist salary survey, which you guys have heard me reference a lot, where we are comparing against each other and sort of maintaining a industry standard salary line. And then our benefits survey. So all of us enter all of our benefits in to make sure that we're not askew, like we're all offering similar benefits across the board. And usually, more than anything, it's encouraging those RPCs that are lacking behind to like, come on, let's come up to like a standard that everyone can sort of, so we're not constantly sniping each other. That's the other thing. Like it's hard enough to get planners in this state, trying to fight from them going to RPC. That used to happen a lot, and it does not happen much anymore. Unless somebody physically moves for some reason, they stay at an RPC now, or they get out of the industry completely, or go to a state agency or something, so.
And there are certain things that we have to do exactly the same, like the indirect rate.
Yeah,
So.
because the state mandates it,
Yeah, so we're using the same calculations and the same.
It's a great question though,
Yeah,
like,
some
'cause-
of those sticky points that you're going over, I mean, if I had to do this,
right,
either it'd be AI or I'd be looking at,
exactly.
somebody else may have already come
Yeah,
across
we
this.
don't wanna
and-
reinvent the wheel if we don't have
Yeah,
to, so definitely, that's a good, definitely a good.
And I
point.
think you'll see over time us continue to do that more and more. That's my hope at least.
It's probably what Andy's doing, see what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. I
Yeah,
got it
yeah,
there.
exactly, yeah. All right, that's the budget. Next is the work plan. So I did something, so last year was the first time we put it in chart form. And how we did it last year was we did it by the program, the task, and then who was gonna complete it. So, at least as director or planner, I had never seen a follow-up to a work plan before brought to the board. So I'm like, this is the year where we're gonna say, did we do these things or not and why? So the greens and the reds indicate whether they were completed or not completed in a fiscal year. And if they weren't completed, I add notes as to why. So number one was Commissioner Handbook. Well, it technically got done, but it got done super late. So I added a stat there. We wanted to do a retreat this year, but we didn't do the regional plan and the budget. We wanted to try to do this regional housing committee or council this year, and it didn't work out. I think the regional plan really sucked up a lot of that air in the room. That being said, we still want to pursue this effort. And same with the Housing Developer Expo, we attempted with Rutland City. It sort of just fell apart for a number of reasons. Our partners and we didn't have strong leadership in that space, so we're hoping to try to do it again next year with like better success. And I think ultimately to ensure that success, we just need to take more leadership on that role. Economic development, we didn't do two things because the EDA is in shambles. The grant we were going to apply for with the rest of the West Central Vermont EDD was canceled, so that work didn't happen. We're still working on the EDD, but it's a slow go. And that's the Economic Development District, by the way. We want to establish a walk-bike council. We did not make that happen this year, primarily just capacity constraints. You know, Ethan already is working through 4 different committees, so we're trying to consolidate this year. That's the goal. ECBG, as you heard, was canceled, so we certainly couldn't do that work. LEMPs were removed from our scope, so again, we couldn't do that work because that was not part of our job. And that was it. So out of the 200 tasks, we didn't complete 5 or 6, and most were because they were out of our control. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
And I thought we were maybe, as typical with me, being maybe a little overambitious this year with this work plan, and it came together. So I can't take the credit by any means. Our staff worked hard. We're really lucky. We've got a good team going here. So that being said, what does next year hold for us? Well, here is the work plan. You'll notice a lot of it's pretty similar because a lot of our work is ongoing. There's not too many new tasks on here. The new tasks really relate to some emerging programs like the Vermont Bond Bank technical assessment that we're working with their program with. Maggie and her program trying to stand up the COAD and the Rutland Region Disaster Cooperative work. But overall, any questions on this? Hopefully it all made sense and was stuff that you guys all support. I think it really meets our mission at this point.
Yeah, I think it's pretty comprehensive. Oh, good.
When does it actually kick in, the 26th?
What's that?
The 2026 work plan,
July 1st.
July 1st of this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, we can call that one done. Great.
Laura, do you have any questions?
No. Thanks.
Okay. Then lastly, we have an executive session to talk about personnel evaluation. Yeah, you can head out for this one, unless you want to stay, you don't have to.
We probably don't want to say.
Thank you, Mary Kay.
So we will need a motion to move into executive session.
Can I have a motion to move into executive session?
I don't think this one requires a specific reason.
Language.
Yeah, I don't think so. You guys have always had the best language. I'm always like,
Blah, blah, blah.
predetermined finding of substantial, yeah.
Yeah, so moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of going into executive session at 6:29, raise your hand, say aye. Only one.
Hi.
It's or, raise your hand or.
Yes. All right. Okay, we're now in executive session. I assume the recording is stopped.